Hi, everybody. We're going to talk about the upcoming games this weekend in both the CFL and the NFL that I'll be particularly interested in. This is the ultimate weekend for CFL and NFL fans here in Canada. But in general, even with the World Series and with the NHL and NBA, this is an ideal time to be a sports fan. So I'm going to talk about the CFL games coming up as the playoffs begin. And also, I'm going to be looking at the upcoming NFL games, stories that I'm particularly interested in. We'll start with the NFL first. The NFL, obviously, this is a crucial weekend in determining season-long trends for the playoffs. Teams that are on the back foot, teams that are on the ascendant. And just after the trade deadline, of course, which happened last week, we'll see which teams actually develop momentum from the moves that they made or did not make, and the teams that have fallen behind. In particular, I'm interested in what's going on with the NFC West. The rise of the Seattle Seahawks under Geno Smith as quarterback. Basically the move that the Seattle Seahawks made in not committing to Russell Wilson as the franchise quarterback, but in fact trading him for a multitude of picks and players to the Denver Broncos in the offseason, and that the Seattle Seahawks are in fact in first place in the NFC West at the time of recording. They will be playing Arizona tomorrow, Sunday, and it'll be interesting to see how their running game with Kenneth Walker will actually shape up, as it's a crucial statement game for Seattle, an opportunity to win another division game on the road and to solidify themselves as a first place team in that division. So I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. I've always liked Pete Carroll as a coach in general, and it's going to be interesting to see if the ascendancy of Geno Smith as an MVP candidate will in fact continue in that regard. As well, we have the emergence of the Buffalo Bills as the de facto contender for the Super Bowl for the AFC alongside the Kansas City Chiefs, and how that's shaping up, particularly with Buffalo holding an advantage, winning the head-to-head game earlier this season over Kansas City. Buffalo will be playing the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium in New York. So we'll get to see that game Sunday at 1:00, and whether Zach Wilson will actually rebound from a terrible game that he played against the Patriots, to see whether the Jets can maintain their position as a playoff team in the standings, and to see whether the Bills can maintain their dominance in that division. As well, as a Raider fan, of course, I'm going to be interested to see how they rebound against the Jaguars, if at all. They, in fact, stayed in Florida over the last week, acclimatizing themselves to Florida. And historically, it's been a very tough road swing for the Raiders, and anytime they play in the Eastern time zone. And this is no different. I like Jacksonville's development so far from the disaster that they had last year with Urban Meyer as their coach. But the astonishing fact is that Trevor Lawrence has not yet led a fourth quarter comeback in just over a season and a half of game action. As a number one draft pick, you have to start I think setting a tone in terms of your ability to come back in situations where your team has not succeeded, and particularly in close games, to be able to seal the deal and make those fourth quarter comebacks that we expect as fans to see from star quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see how Trevor Lawrence plays this out. The Raiders are in pretty dire straits in terms of their playoff chances if they don't win this game. To fall to 2-6 would be a disaster in terms of keeping pace in the division, I think. The Chiefs clearly are the best team in the AFC West at the moment, and the Chargers are behind. But I think that the Chiefs still are the team to beat in that regard. So we'll see how the Raiders do. So those are some of the stories that I'm looking at in terms of the NFL. But I think particularly for any fan here in Canada that likes the CFL and the NFL, this is an ideal part of the season. The CFL playoffs are beginning, and we're going to be able to see the semifinals this weekend. We have at 1:00 on TSN, we have the Hamilton Ticats playing in Montreal in the East semifinal. And at 4:30, we were going to have the BC Lions hosting the Calgary Stampeders, also on TSN. And as a Ticat fan, my heart, of course, is rooting for the Ticats, but my head has to be one of believing that the Alouettes will prevail in the semifinal. Historically, it's been very difficult for Hamilton to play in Montreal in the playoffs, with some exceptions, but in general, it's been a tough go. And I for one, I like the fact that Hamilton has won the last 4 games of their season to get to a playoff spot. But in fact, they only won head-to-head against Ottawa. They beat Saskatchewan head-to-head, and they also won a game against Calgary in the last 4 games. So they only played one game in actuality against a playoff team from the West. So I have to make a caveat in terms of the what my expectations would be from the hot streak that Hamilton's recently had. It's going to come down to turnovers. I mean, I think that's a cliche, but in the case of a Hamilton team that's underperformed this year, I think that that's absolutely warranted. 16 interceptions and 16 touchdowns for a quarterback of Dean Evans' quality. It's been a tough season. It's been a tough go. And I believe that Trevor Harris has been the more consistent quarterback this year of the two. Eugene Lewis is a tremendous receiver for Montreal. I think that both teams can run the ball pretty well. I think that the return of Standback as the main running back in Montreal is crucial. And basically, a team that's going to be able to run the ball more consistently, I think, is going to win the game. And I want to say that it's a pretty close matchup in terms of that. Sean Thomas Erlington's been tremendous. Also, Wes Hills has developed in particular games. He's been really good. But I do believe that Montreal's been the more consistent team this year. And with home advantage, I have to give them the edge by 3. I think it's going to be 25-22. But, my heart's with Hamilton. And if Hamilton plays to their ability and they don't turn over the ball, I think that they have a very good shot at, the upset. But I don't think, given their overall form this year, that they're going to be able to beat Montreal in a 1-game playoff. If I'm wrong, it's a pleasant surprise. And I do believe that the winner of this game is going to be in very good shape against Toronto. That's just my personal opinion. But I really see Montreal as being the favorite in this game. In terms of the West, I believe that you're going to see a BC Lion team that has a lot to prove. And at this point, I would personally give them the edge to win the West in an upset. If Nathan Rourke can return to form after many weeks on the injured list because of his Lisfranc injury to his foot, I believe that Nathan Rourke is an MVP quality quarterback, and I think there's no doubt about that. Most observers would put him with Zach Collaros as the class of the league. And I don't want to in any way besmirch Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg's been tremendous this year. I just think that there's something special about Nathan Rourke. And I think that it really is up to him to prove that he is a transformative player. And even early in his career, I think he's shown signs of that. And I think that this game against Calgary's a good team. Jake Meyer is not to be underestimated, but I do believe that BC should prevail by a touchdown. I'm saying 30-23 in that game. I think that both teams have good balance, and I do expect to have a competitive game between the two. And that should set up a tremendous weekend next week in the East and West finals. Both Toronto and Winnipeg are awaiting the winners of this weekend's games, and I think that that's going to be a critical week for both teams in terms of having that bye, because I think that in both cases, I mean, I think they do have to be favored, but I have more confidence in Winnipeg actually not being rusty to be ironic, but to be able to play effectively with that week off right off the hop. So I do think that it's going to be very tough for either winner of tomorrow's games to win the respective finals. But I wouldn't be surprised to see upsets. And I think that Hamilton has the most to prove of all the teams in this tournament. And I'm skeptical, quite frankly, because I've been disappointed this year with particularly just simple turnovers over the course of the year. Too many interceptions, too many critical fumbles at key times. But if Hamilton plays to form, I think regardless of who you're rooting for, this is going to be a very interesting playoff. It of course will culminate in the Grey Cup in 2 weeks' time in Saskatchewan. So we're going to see how it goes. I'd like to hear your comments and predictions for these games, and hopefully we'll have a tremendous weekend of football. There's also the World Series. I haven't been following the World Series as closely as I usually do. I don't really have any skin in this World Series between the Philadelphia Phillies and Houston Astros. But I do believe that, we're going to probably see a Houston victory going back to Houston with a 3-2 advantage. Nonetheless, it's a great time to be a sports fan. And so I'd like to hear your comments, your predictions, and just get your input on, what's going on in the world of sport. So again, thanks for your time, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.